Guys, my brand new book, Godly Ambition, is finally here. I spent the last 2 years writing the lessons that I learned over the last 20 years with the hope to help you compress some of those struggles and not have to wander in the desert like the children of Israel. When the children of Israel left Egypt, their journey to the promised land took them 40 years. But the actual journey, when you look at it in a map, was only 11 days. And so in my life, when it comes to things like purpose, when it comes to things like ambition, my identity, calling, what am I supposed to do here and now? How do I defeat those destructive, dysfunctional patterns in my life of sin while walking in the fullness and the freedom of what God has for me? That took me a long time to learn, but I don't think we have to wander in the desert. I think when we learn from other people's scars and learn the lessons that other people have learned through their own wisdom, we can compress time. And that's the goal of Godly Ambition, unlocking the full potential of your time, talent, and treasures. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you buy books. Pre-order the book, then go to mygodlyambition.com to get some exclusive perks that are only available for the first week of the launch. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.
I think one of the things, especially whenever it comes to things like incremental and having patience and just persisting and really having a bit of grace with yourself, is shown in the life of Christ and the apostles. Because Christ doesn't come down fully grown as a man, come down as the king that he is, and he's like, here we go, serve me. I'm gonna broadcast my message all across the world. No, he comes down as a baby, and then he grows up and has a meager life, and then he goes on and incrementally, step by step, he acquires his apostles and he spreads his message. And again, it's like, and I mean, so much of this has to do with social media. So much of it has to do with the society that we live in, of being like, if you don't have a lot of people focusing on you, you don't matter. And you need to have that right now. No, you don't get to like put in the time. And if you don't have it already, then what's wrong with you? You might as well never do it. And it's like, man, look, nobody is guaranteed tomorrow. Nobody's guaranteed the next moment. But more than likely, you got a bit of time. So I think it's really important. And I often find people have such, oh, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. They have such little grace with themselves.
Mm.
And I think something that we can do now, that can go in the wrong direction, where it's like you're constantly sinning, you're constantly going against God's ways, and then you're like, yeah, but I got the grace of Christ. No. But it's like, whenever you stumble, whenever you have mistakes, whenever you fail, have a bit of grace with yourself, because you have been shown perfect grace from on high. So how can I love my neighbor? How can I love how can I love others as myself if I won't even look at the man in the mirror and have that same grace, have that same patience? So how integral do you think something like having a bit of dang grace with yourself can be for the one who wants to do that incremental leveling up, who wants to do that improvement in their life?
Yeah, listen, I think grace and mercy, I think, are much better motivators to actually towards sanctification than shame and condemnation. And so it's like, listen, that shame, it could be a fire to spark something sometimes, right?
Yeah.
That like, I'm gonna prove everybody wrong. That they like that could be a spark, but that's not
Yeah.
sustainable. And so what's sustainable is, man, I had an encounter with a living God, and despite myself, he accepts me. And because he accepts me, he walks with me and he loves me. And in that, I'm going to honor him. And I want to just be faithful to him. Like, that is a way better motivator and a way better framework, right? So it's like my kids. Like, my kids are loved by me. They can't do anything to make me love them anymore. They can't do anything to make me love them any less. They're my kids, dude. And
Yeah.
I want them to be obedient. I want them to want to be obedient. But even when they're not obedient, I'm not shaming them and threatening them with kicking them out of the house because they messed up, right? And I
Yeah.
think like that paradigm, I think, is directly reflected to God. Like, God's not gonna boot you because you messed up one time. I think God is a
Yeah.
good, loving father, and he wants you to want to serve him. But if we get that idea of gratitude, that God's good, I think that's a much better pathway forward to what you're describing, right? Is, hey, change, sanctification, consecration, those are sometimes very slow moving. And a lot of times it's
Mm.
the perfect balance of like, I got to remove stuff and I got to replace stuff. The law of replacement, I think, is something many of us get confused by and we don't practice enough. It's like remove, 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 like pull the weeds out. It's like, yes and amen, like pull the weeds out. However, if you're not
Yeah.
doing anything to replace the weeds, you're just going to be bored and then just find yourself back in your own poop, back to your
Yeah.
throw up, right? So like I just looked this up and I'm using this as a point in my talk today. Like I looked it up and dude, like American, the average American spends between 7 to 12 hours consuming media a day. Okay. So I'm by the way,
Same.
I'm not talking work on a screen. I'm talking 7 to 12
Yeah.
hours of media a day between social media, Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, right? And this may come off like self-serve, like Ruslan, you're a YouTuber. Like it's like, yeah, I understand I'm a YouTuber and I understand it's probably a degree of like I may be a part of the problem here, right? But if you take 7 to 12 hours a day, you flesh that out, that's like 50 hours a week. And here's my frustration, Ben, is that you have people that grow frustrated and disdain towards wanting things that they're not willing to work for, and then they're
Yeah.
mad and they're bitter. And my point is, hey, you can live a quiet, simple life. You can almost anyone can figure out a way to work a regular job and live a simple life. The issue becomes is when you claim and that you're entitled to more without willing to do the work, and then you're
Mm.
frustrated and then you're on social media and then that's distorting you because it's everyone's highlight reel and so
Right.
you're so discontent when the reality is like, dude, you almost everyone here, let's just take that 50 hours a week that the average person spends, just cut that in half. Let's just cut that in half. Well, I'm not even saying get off of social media and stuff. Let's just do 20 25 hours a week. That other 30 hours a
Mm.
week, you could do all kinds of cool stuff. You can learn stuff. You can develop new skills. You can pick up a side job. You can get on TaskRabbit. You could do other stuff to develop yourself. And then at least you're sustaining yourself, right? Like at least you're in a place where you're not angry at the world and you're not comparing yourself. The issue, I think, is people want
Mm.
things without understanding that, hey, this nothing is easy. Like this idea that like being able to provide for your family in 2025 is easy is ridiculous. It's not easy. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like it's really hard to live out First Timothy 5, which says, he who does not provide for the needs of his relatives, specifically his immediate family, is worse than a non-believer and is denied to faith. That's in the context of
Mm.
caring for widows in the church, by the way. Like the people are like, the church should do more for the poor. It's like the context of that passage is saying, hey, the widows that can remarry and are young should get remarried. The widows who have family, your family needs to take care of you. And the widows
Yes.
who has no one to take care of, that's who's entitled to the church's benevolence. That's who the church needs to support. We got it all backwards. Like we want the government to take care of everybody, and we don't want to own any responsibility. And when grandma gets old, we're shipping her off to the nursing home because man, she doesn't have
Mhm.
any economic utility for us anymore unless she can watch the kids. And if she can't watch the kids, then the hell with grandma. It's like we have an entire backwards framework of all this stuff, and it comes down to like, are you able to even sustain yourself? And if you're not,
Right.
why not? And is it because you're so distracted because 40 hours a week, 30 hours a week, just passively consuming? So my fear, Ben, for people is that, and Daniel Priestley says this, we are entering, if not already in, the age of the hyper consumer that's just going to be passively just watching life go by and just consuming, or the person that's the
Mhm.
hyper creative and the person that can create things. That like that
Yeah.
disparity is only going to grow. Like it's only going to get worse. And I don't want that for people. Like I don't want people to just be checked out 30, 50 hours just watching stuff and not doing anything and then mad at people who did do stuff and wondering why their situation is different. And again, if none of this is speaking to you, cool, man. Like live a Joe job, avoid debt, live on way less than what you make, live on a simple life, save, give, and live a simple life, right? Everyone, I
Yeah.
think, in America can do that. I think you can figure that out. If you got to get on TaskRabbit and go, paint a day a week or something like that to sustain yourself, almost everybody can do that. The issue is we want more, but we're not willing to make the sacrifices and change the mentality to move towards that. And then we're bitter and we're angry and we're quiet quitting and we're wondering why society is going the way it's going. And it's like, well, maybe we need to cut back on some of the distractions.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me how often I'll see, and this is so prevalent in kind of prosperity preacher-esque veins of Christianity, where they'll quote the verse where Christ says, whatever you pray for, whatever you ask for, it will be given to you. And they completely ignore where you have to align your will with the will of the Father. And it's like, because one of those requires a bit of dang effort on your part, and the other one, you just kind of get to sit there and go, God, please give me this. And then you sit there and then you don't get that thing. You didn't put in any work. You didn't actually work out, your the dang time that you have in the day to day, and then you just get upset. And then you get frustrated. And then you see people who do want to put in that work, who do have goals, who do want to build up something, not so that they can hoard it, but so that they can, again, care for those around them. Because, again, how can we care for those around us if we don't have the things ourselves? So instead, just like what you're talking about, we, in a manner of speaking, we deify organizations or conglomerates like the government and things like that. And we go, well, they will be the God of our life. And we'll just kind of sit back. We'll be like, I don't know if you've ever seen Wall-E, where everybody ends up just like in like floating chairs, and everybody, look, I'm a big guy, but everybody ends up fairly rotund, and they're just sitting in chairs going like this, and then everything is just fed to them and they get the screen right there. And it's like, man, it's funny because you're talking about the different things. And I so often have this conversation with people whenever it comes to like politics. Well, Jesus would have been this, Jesus would have been that. And like, the truth of the matter is, to be like Christ is to always, for the most part, depending on the conversation, you're somewhere in the middle. It is the one who, just like our Savior, lived a dang job, but then also was over here in the hyper spiritual. It is the physical and the spiritual. I loved what you were talking about before, and I think you and I actually had a phone call about this a time ago, where I hate so much, and the more and more that I get into my faith, I see people putting like these boxes around, well, this is faith, and this is works, and this, and I think it's just all of it. The more and more I think about it, I think it's just like our life is like this tree. And at the very roots, we have the grace of God that go into the faith, and then they go into the works. And some people are just sitting there outside of the tree wanting the fruit, but they didn't do anything. So then their fruit does not match the tree that they claim to be. And then that's when all of a sudden we're like, well, that's weird, because I see this book that is full of encouragement for you to do good, for you to do physical actions, for you to have a part to play in this. And then you're just sitting there like, well, God didn't give me the thing that I wanted. And I prayed a lot. I prayed for at least an hour. And you're like, you have something to do. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry that you have been fed this thing of, hey, maybe if you just give a little bit more, or if you just sit there and pray extra hard, then God's going to give it to you. That's just not always how it works.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. If you liked it, then hit the like button. If you liked it a lot and have a thought to share, leave a comment. If you are listening to this on the podcast app, make sure to leave a review, and you could even leave a comment over there. And if you want to watch another video that is recommended just for you, hit this video over here. Let me know if they nailed it. Also, you can partner with us monthly, which helps us out a lot in our monthly community. Get access to early drops and all that kind of good stuff over here. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.